PKR announces state election candidates. Police receive 3 reports on the 1975 Disrespectful Act. You're watching updates at noon with me, Otto Othman. Parti Keadilan Rakyat PKR pitches 58 candidates for the upcoming state elections. Its President Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the party will contest a total of 20 seats in Selangor, 6 in Kelantan, 13 in Pulau Pinang, 3 in Terengganu, 10 in Kedah and 6 seats in Negeri Sembilan.
Parti Keadilan Rakyat, keputusan sudah dibuat dan kita ambil tindakan. Bagi yang layak dan ada peranan, saudara fahamlah, kita tetap akan jamin supaya kedudukan orang-orang yang setia dan bekerja keras tetap akan dipertahankan.
The Prime Minister said this at an event held in Shah Alam last night to name the PKR candidates contesting in the state polls next month. Datuk Seri Anwar also said that the party has decided that Datuk Seri Aminuddin Harun should be retained as the Negeri Sembilan Menteri Besar should the PHBN alliance wins majority of seats in the state. He added that the matter has been conveyed to BN Chairman Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. Datuk Seri Amiruddin Syari will also retain his position as Selangor Menteri Besar should the coalition wins the state in PRU DUN ke-15. In a separate event, Datuk Seri Anwar said elements of knowledge, manners and good morals are essential in Muslim society to avoid tension arising from differences of opinion. To nurture those elements among the Muslims, the government regularly invites renowned scholars from across the country and abroad to share their knowledge through religious gatherings.
Untuk mempertahankan bahawa Islam itu boleh ditegakkan dengan persiapan, ilmu dan amal. Bukan semata-mata dengan semangat jeritan. Sebab itu kadang-kadang kalau ikut semangat saja, kadang-kadang kita dah jadi tempang. Prinsip nilai dan akhlak itu diketepikan dan menghukum dengan mudah dan sewenang-wenang sebelum mengetahui.
He said this at the launch of the National SAHIH Al-Bukhari program in Putrajaya. Datuk Seri Anwar stressed that Muslims should delve into the Islamic teachings and history to understand the struggles of Prophet Muhammad and his companions during various significant events in Islam as an effort to avoid divisions due to differences of opinion. At the event, Datuk Seri Anwar also witnessed the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding MOU between University College of Yayasan Pahang and Jamia Markaz University. According to Vice-Chancellor of University College of Yayasan Pahang, Professor Emeritus Datuk Dr. Ahmad Zainuddin, the MOU provides opportunities for local students to delve further into Islamic studies with India's ulama who specialize in hadith.
Dan hari ini ada satu hari yang sangat bersejarah kerana kita dapat bekerjasama dengan sebuah institusi swasta juga di India yang menawarkan pelbagai-bagai program pendidikan Islam. Jadi kita juga mempunyai fakulti Islam dan insya-Allah pada masa hadapan kita akan ada pertukaran pelajar, pertukaran pensyarah dan juga penyelidikan dan juga conference. Jadi saya kira kamilah yang rasanya bertuah sangat pada malam ini kerana Yang Berhormat Perdana Menteri juga hadir untuk menyaksikan sesi pertukaran dokumen.
Police have received 3 reports on the disrespectful behaviour of British band The 1975 at the Good Vibes Festivals 2023. Selangor Police Chief Datuk Hussein Omar Khan said the report were received by the Kuala Lumpur International Airport District Police Headquarters yesterday. The police have summoned the parties involved and the case is being investigated under Section 509 and 504 of the Penal Code and Section 14 of the Minor Offences Act. Dato' Hussein said the police also supported the Communications and Digital Ministry and Sepang Municipal Council's decision to immediately cancel the festival for security reasons. He also reminded the public to refrain from making any speculations that could cause misunderstandings in the community. Cambodia votes as Hun Sen a near guaranteed election win. That and more coming up after this. Cambodians voted today in an election that longtime leader Hun Sen is all but guaranteed to win as he looks to secure his legacy by handing the reins to his eldest son. The 70-year-old former Khmer Rouge cadre has ruled since 1985 and faces no real contest in this vote, with opposition parties banned, challenger and candidates forced to flee, and freedom of expression stifled. His Cambodian People's Party, CPP, is likely to retain all 125 seats in the lower house, prolonging his grip on power and paving the way for a dynastic succession some critics have compared to North Korean politics. The only serious opposition party was disqualified on a technicality in the run-up to the polls, and it will be surprised if any of the 17 other small, poorly founded parties win seats. Hun Sen cast his ballot in the capital Phnom Penh shortly after polling stations opened at 7 a.m. local time. More than 9.7 million people are registered to vote in the 7th election since the United Nations first sponsored polls in 1993, after years of conflict, including the genocidal Khmer Rouge left the country devastated. Australia and the United States rehearsed precision missile strikes during war games on Saturday as Canberra overhauls its military strategy in favor of long-range firepower. A series of 5 live fire drills were held at the Shoalwater Bay military complex in the northeastern region of Queensland, showcasing the American-made HIMARS missile system recently sold to the Australian Defence Force. More than 30,000 troops will take part in the biennial Talisman Sabre exercises over the next 2 weeks, including soldiers from Japan, France, Germany and South Korea. The drills come as Australia embarks upon a major overhaul of its armed forces, pivoting towards long-range strike capabilities in an effort to keep would-be foes such as China at arm's length. HIMARS, or the High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, was developed for the United States Army by Lockheed Martin in the 1990s. Defense bosses have praised its coveted shoot and scoot ability. It can be placed, fired, moved and reloaded quickly, making it more difficult for the enemy to find and target, lessening the risk to crew. Australia's first HIMARS are due in 2025 and are expected to come into use over the following 2 years. Beijing has been keeping a close eye on the drills, which come amid increasing unease about China's growing military muscle in the Asia-Pacific. A man who was thrown out of a bar in Mexico for improper behavior toward women went back and set fire to it, killing 11 people. The arson attack happened overnight Friday into Saturday in the town of San Luis Rio Colorado in the northern state of Sonora, which borders the United States. The state prosecutor's office in Sonora said the fire killed 7 men and 4 women and left 4 other people hospitalized. The attacker was expelled from the bar for treating women disrespectfully and then returned and threw a flaming object into it, presumably a Molotov cocktail. The prosecutor's office said authorities are working to identify and arrest the assailant. Next in sports, mighty Southern Tigers clamp FA Cup at home. Stay with us. Johor Darul Takzim JDT mounted a successful defense of the FA Cup they won last year by beating Kuala Lumpur KLCT FC 2-0 in the final held for the first time at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium last night. It is the Southern Tigers' third FA Cup after lifting it in 2016 and also last year. But this time round, the team did it in front of a home crowd of 33,598 fans. Midfielder Nathaniel Xiao Hongwan and Argentine striker Leandro Velasquez were the heroes of the match, slotting a goal apiece in the second half to lead their team to triumph at the 32nd edition of the prestigious tournament. JDT's first goal came in the second half when Hongwan sent the ball across a distance of around 25 meters with a powerful right-legged kick that ricocheted off the post and into the net. The goal shook things up and forced KL City to abandon their defensive tactics. It allowed JDT to capitalize on the pressure they applied on the visitors, resulting in Velasquez stealing the ball from right under Muhammad Kamal Azizi, Muhammad Zabri and Sebastian Avanzini's watch and slotting it past a hapless Mendoza to put JDT ahead 2-0 in the 74th minute. JDT's victorious FA Cup campaign extends their undefeated run in all domestic competitions this season, which is also marked by a 17-match winning streak in the Super League, while KL City's defeat means they have to wait for next year for the chance to lift the FA Cup for the very first time. Reacting to the win, JDT head coach Esteban Solari admitted that there were strong attacks mounted by the KL City boys. However, thanks to the impressive defensive display by goalkeeper Sihan Hazmi, JDT managed to maintain their clean sheet throughout the match.
It's not easy, especially when you play good teams. Today, KL make a good game, make us work for the result, and at the end, the players show that they wanted very much to win this title. They deserve it because they didn't concede any goal in this competition. And they beat good opponents.
Meanwhile, KL City head coach Boyan Hodak remains satisfied with the KL City boys' performance, especially in the first half. He said the players managed to maintain their tactical display before finally losing focus in the second half.
I think that we played 70 minutes very disciplined and everything going according to the plan. I mentioned before to beat them, you need to be JDT, you need to have perfect match. First half defensively was good, but we had two chances that we should score.
Lewis Hamilton said it felt like a first after beating Max Verstappen by the blink of an eye to take a record-extending 104th pole position of his Formula One career at the Hungarian Grand Prix on Saturday. The 38-year-old Briton was just 0.003 faster than Reed Red Bull's championship leader for what was also record 9th pole in the Hungaroring, the most by any driver in the history of the sport at one circuit. It was Hamilton's first pole position since Saudi Arabia in December 2021 and ended his run of 33 races without starting from the top slot. Verstappen had been on provisional pole after the first runs, with Hamilton second, but the double world champion could not improve on his 1 minute 16.612 seconds, while the Mercedes driver used the soft tyres to maximum effect. Clarence Lando Norris qualified third with Australian rookie teammate Oscar Piastri alongside, and Alfa Romeo's Guyu Zhao fifth. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc will start sixth with Valtteri Bottas seventh for Alfa Romeo and Fernando Alonso eighth for Aston Martin. Red Bull's Sergio Perez, second overall, but 99 points behind Verstappen after 10 races, made the final phase for the first time since Miami in May, but qualified only 9th and next to Haas's Nico Hülkenberg in 10th. Defending champion Jonas Vingegaard of Denmark was set to win his second Tour de France title after keeping a close tab on his main rival and 20th stage winner Tadej Pogačar in the final mountain ride of the race on Saturday. And cracked in Wednesday's last alpine stage, claimed victory on the day after 133.5 kilometers from Belfort, outspring. Creativity is thinking up new things, while to innovate is to do new things. To dive further, let's take a look at the world around us. What happens to the body when a human gets heat stroke? How can we protect ourselves in a warming planet? To answer these burning questions, Arizona researchers have deployed a robot that can breathe, shiver, and sweat. At first glance, ANDI, which stands for Advanced Newton Dynamic Instrument, resembles a simple crash test dummy. But its epoxy carbon fiber skin conceals a treasure trove of technology, such as a network of connected sensors that assess heat diffused through the body.
With this project, some really important aspects of it are being able to study how people experience those extremely high core temperature values that we wouldn't be viewing in an actual human, because we would never purposely expose a human to those conditions where their core temperature would get that high.
Researchers hope the robot will provide a better understanding of hyperthermia, that is, when a body overheats, a condition that is threatening a growing proportion of the world's population as a result of global warming. Their research will be useful for designing heat-resistant clothing, rethinking urban planning, and protecting the most vulnerable.
I think we'll be able to get more precise or better evidence that supports certain heat mitigation or personal cooling technologies, whether it's throughout a city or within a home or on the outside of a home. We can think of urban design strategies that are trying to be put in place. We can think of personal cooling strategies that do help keep the core temperature down.
The team also dreams of developing low-cost sensors to be used on building sites to adjust working hours according to the heat actually felt on site and the health of the workers, rather than based on general weather conditions. An electric 18-wheel all-terrain vehicle ATV that can glide over rocks and tree trunks is being developed in Finland. Helsinki-based 18 Wheels recently unveiled their prototype based on a unique patented suspension comprising 18 wheels. Each wheel is a suspension system that provides a special trajectory of movement and is equipped with an independent electric motor inside. The result is a much smoother ride over all types of rough terrain that a traditional four-wheel ATV would struggle with.
Наш вездеход умеет преодолевать большие препятствия на высокой скорости. Я имею в виду камни высотой до 35 сантиметров, поваленные деревья, бордюры и даже лестницы. Наш вездеход может ездить по лестницам. Я наберусь смелости заявить, что так не может ни одно транспортное средство на этой планете. Есть вездеходы, которые умеют преодолевать большие препятствия, но они это делают очень медленно, с трудом, с большим дискомфортом для райдера. Наш вездеход проезжает эти препятствия без ударов, без тряски, очень комфортно и на высокой скорости. Уже сегодня наш вездеход умеет преодолевать эти препятствия на скорости до 30 км в час. В дальнейшем мы эту скорость еще повысим.
He explained that the lighter the wheel is, the less energy it will receive when it hits an obstacle. And so the less energy it will give back to the car body, and the less impact the driver will feel. Iliev claims his team have reduced the weight of a factor of 10, so the impact when hitting an obstacle is 10 times lower than a traditional heavier vehicle. And unlike normal ATVs, which are notorious for crunching up the ground they drive on, the unique suspension and weight distribution makes the 18-wheeler much less destructive. The company is now seeking investment while they put the finishing touches to a new pre-production prototype, which they expect to unveil in late 2023. Sensors that can sniff out a wildfire minutes after it starts are being trialed in Brandenburg, a German region most hit by forest fires. In the heart of Eberswalde forest northeast of Berlin, Jürgen Müller coaxed flames out of a fire pit using highly flammable pine branches as kindling. It doesn't take long before the first wisps of smoke start curling into the air. The 69-year-old retired forestry expert has come to test a green and black device powered by solar energy that can detect the gases emitted during the earliest, smoldering phase of a fire. Acting like an electronic nose, Mueller said the sensors are attached to trees and also monitor temperature, humidity, and air pressure.
Ein wesentlicher Vorteil ist die Ultrafrüherkennung. Das heißt also, schon in wenigen Minuten, in 10 Minuten, 15 Minuten, erkennen wir einen Entstehungsbrand, bevor ein offenes Feuer da ist. Das heißt, wir können ihn schnell bekämpfen und damit den Schaden deutlich reduzieren im Vergleich zu optischen Systemen, die den Waldbrand erst erkennen, wenn er über den Kronen sichtbar ist.
With the help of artificial intelligence, the sensor can tell the difference between a nascent wildfire or, for example, the fumes from a passing diesel truck. As soon as a fire is detected, the data gets relayed to a cloud-based monitoring system and fire authorities are alerted. Abelswald Forest has been fitted with around 400 sensors, or one device per hectare, as part of a pilot project with the municipality to test the early warning system's reliability.
Ablöschen. Und so haben wir in den letzten Jahren die Durchschnittsbrandfläche doch erheblich absenken können, weil mit dem System der Waldbrandfrüherkennung können wir doch viele der Brände so frühzeitig erkennen, dass wir Großschadenslagen verhindern können.
Dryad Networks said 10 countries, including the United States, Greece, and Spain, are already experimenting with the device. The company sold around 10,000 of the devices last year. By 2030, it aims to have 120 million installed worldwide. We're leaving the River Thames behind and descending deep underground into London's newest megastructure, the Thames Tideway Tunnel. While engineers can still walk the tunnel for now, that won't be the case for long.
In a year or so's time, this will be filled with sewage, so we wouldn't want to be here. But this is it. This is kind of one small part of 25 kilometres of tunnel that snakes right under London.
The tunnel's route runs from West London to sewage treatment works on the Thames estuary. It's being built to deal with a major problem for London's iconic river. When it rains, the only overflow for the city's Victorian sewage system is the Thames. And as the city's grown, that's becoming a regular occurrence.
So when the system was built, this happened quite infrequently, a couple of times a year perhaps. Now this happens an average of once a week. And so in a typical year, 40 million tonnes of storm sewage, which is sewage and rainwater, spills directly into the Thames.
Tunneling was completed in 2022 after 7 years of work. When it becomes fully operational in 2025, it should remove 95% of the waste that currently goes into Thames. While the Tideway Tunnel should help clean up London's famous river, the prospect of a wider improvement for Britain's waters is a long way off. A major exhibition dedicated to the Titanic opened in Paris, with many of the objects on display brought up from the ship's wreck by a French deep-sea explorer who died in a submersible disaster last month. Henry Paul Narguillet, who was nicknamed Mr. Titanic, helped bring up many of the 260 objects on display, which include navigation instruments and hooks from the ship, as well as watches and jewelry from its passengers from the wreck.
On vous donne une carte d'embarquement à l'entrée, vous êtes là, vous avez votre petite carte et vous arrivez à la fin dans la salle où il y a tout le nom de tous ceux qui ont disparu et ceux qui ont survécu et là vous découvrez tout à coup si oui ou non vous avez survécu ou pas. Donc ça vous touche, c'est une façon de rentrer dans la vie d'autrui, de rentrer dans la technologie du début du XXe siècle, c'est de vivre une aventure incroyable, de faire comme on a vu DiCaprio tout faire dans le film, vous voyez, enfin bon, ça permet de soi-même de se faire sa propre histoire.
The exhibition, which runs until 10th September, starts off with a more than 4-meter long model of the mythic ship. Visitors are then taken on a journey from the night the Titanic departed England for New York in April 1912, through the sinking of what was the world's largest cruise ship after its hull was ruptured by an iceberg. The exhibition features recreations of the ship's cabins, grand staircase, and even the oppressive atmosphere of its engine room. A joint French-American expedition discovered the Titanic's wreck nearly 4 kilometers underwater off the coast of Newfoundland in 1985. Marc Diolet directed or participated in 6 of the 8 exploration missions to the wreck between 1987 and 2010, which brought back more than 5,000 objects to the surface. Would you consider sending your DNA into space? This Arizona couple would. Gary and Elizabeth Paulos are sending their DNA into orbit in the upcoming Enterprise mission. Launched by Celestis, a company that offers a rather unusual service, space burials. Space burials are not a new concept, but for the first time ever, the Celestis Enterprise flight will travel into deep space and orbit around the sun indefinitely.
A repository of our civilization out in the universe. No one's done that before. We're going to have 196 capsules of cremated remains of people who have passed away, or DNA of people who are still living. But that repository is going to be 330 million kilometers out into space for the first time in history.
The flight will carry the ashes or DNA of notable individuals such as Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry and cast members like James Doohan and Nichelle Nichols.
A hair follicle from George Washington, President Dwight Eisenhower, and President John F. Kennedy are all on board that flight as well.
While some families are using the service to honor their deceased loved ones in a unique way, the Pauloses are participating as a living couple.
In some way, and this was an opportunity for us to be able to do something that no one else has done, to go where no one else has gone before. Our DNA will go into deep space. It will be the furthest human genome from the planet.
Well, that ends updates at noon. Wrapping up with a recap of our top story. PKR announces state election candidates. And tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Thanks for watching. I'm Otto Othman, Malaysia Madani. Teka perpaduan, penuhi harapan.